What happens when a shark decides to attack in popular tourist spots? People least expect it. Whether on a yacht, a jet ski, or a kayak, no one is safe when a shark chooses to strike. These incidents raise serious questions about safety in waters where sharks rarely attack but still pose real danger. These true shark attack stories reveal the terrifying power of nature's predators. From a billionaire diving in the Mediterranean to a boy feeding dolphins in Florida, these shocking encounters happened when people let their guard down, unaware that danger was just beneath the surface. On February 1, 2025, the sun shone brightly over the Mediterranean as billionaire entrepreneur Charles Montgomery and his friends enjoyed a luxurious vacation off the coast of Monaco. Charles, a 52-year-old business tycoon, was known for his daring nature and love of adventure. Over the years, he had built a reputation not only for his successful companies, but also for his thrill-seeking lifestyle. He had climbed some of the tallest mountains, skydived from extreme heights, and explored the deep sea. His wealth allowed him to indulge in activities that many would never experience in their lifetime. His friends, a close-knit group of investors, fellow entrepreneurs, and longtime companions, had accompanied him on this exclusive getaway. They were aboard his private yacht, a state-of-the-art vessel equipped with everything needed for a perfect vacation. The trip was meant to be a break from their busy lives, a time to relax, share stories, and embrace the beauty of the open sea. For Charles, this was not just a vacation but another opportunity to push his limits. He had always been fascinated by marine life, and scuba diving was one of his favorite activities. He often spoke about his admiration for the ocean's mysteries and the creatures that inhabited its depths. As the yacht floated on the calm waters, Charles prepared for a solo dive. Despite warnings about occasional shark sightings, he dismissed any concerns. He had swum with sharks before in controlled environments and felt confident in his abilities. He believed that the ocean was a place of beauty rather than danger. His friends watched as he put on his diving gear and prepared to descend into the water. The sea was clear, the sunlight reflecting off the surface, making it seem like a perfect day for exploration. As he dove into the water, the world above faded away, replaced by the silence of the ocean. Schools of fish swam past him, and the coral beneath created a vibrant underwater landscape. Everything seemed peaceful. He moved deeper, feeling the rush of excitement that always came with exploring the unknown. However, unknown to him, something far larger was lurking in the distance. From the depths of the sea, a massive 16-foot great white shark sensed movement. It had been drawn by the vibrations in the water, an instinct that made it one of the ocean's most efficient predators. The shark moved swiftly, its powerful body cutting through the water with ease. It locked onto its target and closed in with astonishing speed. Suddenly, from the corner of his eye, Charles noticed a shadow approaching. Before he could react, the shark struck with full force. The powerful jaws clamped onto his torso, the immense pressure breaking bones and tearing through flesh. The impact sent shockwaves of pain through his body as he struggled to free himself. Above, his friends watched in horror, helpless as the attack unfolded. They shouted for help, but there was nothing they could do. The shark pulled him beneath the surface, disappearing into the depths. Within moments, the water that had once been so peaceful turned into a scene of devastation. Panic spread across the yacht as the water churned violently below. The bright blue sea was now disturbed by waves of red, a sight that sent a shock through everyone watching. Charles had vanished beneath the surface, taken by the force of the ocean's greatest predator. His friends stood frozen, unable to process what had just happened. Some reached for radios, frantically calling for emergency help. Others stared at the water, hoping to see any sign of him. But the sea remained silent. Rescue efforts began immediately. The crew contacted authorities in Monaco, reporting the attack and requesting urgent assistance. Within minutes, rescue boats and helicopters were dispatched, racing toward the location. The luxury of the yacht, once a symbol of celebration, now felt meaningless as those on board struggled to comprehend the horror they had just witnessed. The vastness of the sea made the situation even more hopeless. The deep waters held no clues as to where Charles had gone. The shark had pulled him far beneath the surface, beyond reach. His body was lost to the depths, never to be recovered. Divers arrived and searched the area, but there was nothing to be found except disturbed waters and silence. The reality of the loss began to settle in. A man who had conquered business, adventure, and extreme challenges had been defeated by the very nature he admired. News of the attack spread rapidly. Within hours, headlines across the world reported the tragedy. The idea that a billionaire, someone used to control every aspect of his life, could be taken in such an unpredictable way shocked the public. Social media was flooded with messages of disbelief, sympathy, and speculation. Some questioned why he had chosen to dive alone despite known risks. Others debated the presence of great white sharks in the Mediterranean, a place not known for frequent sightings of these predators. Experts weighed in on the attack, analyzing what could have led to such an incident. Marine biologists suggested that the shark may have been drawn to the area due to changing migration patterns. Warmer waters and increased human activity could have played a role in its presence. Others pointed out that sharks do not actively seek humans as prey, but mistaken identity in deep waters is always a risk. Regardless of the reasons, the attack left the world unsettled. In Monaco, memorials were held in Charles's honor. His family, devastated by the loss, released a statement expressing their grief. The business empire he built faced uncertainty, as discussions began about who would take over leadership. Employees mourned the man who had led them with ambition and vision. His closest friends struggled to cope with the tragedy they had witnessed firsthand. The attack led to new discussions about ocean safety. Authorities considered revising guidelines for private diving near tourist areas. Some urged for better monitoring of shark activity in the region. The event served as a stark reminder that no matter how powerful a person may be, nature remains untamed. The Mediterranean, once thought to be a place of beauty and leisure, now held a darker memory. On June 23, 2023, the sun shone brightly over the waters of the Florida coast. The waves moved gently, reflecting the clear blue sky above. A private yacht belonging to a wealthy family was anchored not far from the shore. On board, 12-year-old Lucas enjoyed the vacation with his parents and older sister. His family often took trips to the ocean, spending time on the luxurious yacht. For Lucas, the best part of these trips was watching the sea creatures. He had always been fascinated by marine life, spending hours looking at fish, turtles, and dolphins swimming near the boat. This time, a dolphin had been appearing near the yacht every day. It played in the water, jumping and spinning, much to Lucas's delight. He would rush to the edge of the boat whenever he saw it, waving excitedly. The dolphin seemed friendly, staying near the yacht longer than usual. Lucas was convinced it was waiting for him. He wanted to do something special for the playful creature. He thought if he gave it food, it would keep coming back. Lucas had watched the yacht's chef prepare fresh fish for dinner. He knew where they were stored in the kitchen. When no one was paying attention, he sneaked inside, carefully took a few fish, and hurried back to the deck. He leaned over the railing, holding the fish in his hand, looking for his dolphin friend. The sea was calm, and the water sparkled under the sun. He smiled, ready to throw the fish into the waves. At that moment, deep beneath the surface, something large moved silently. A powerful 13-foot bull shark had picked up the scent of the fish. It swam closer, drawn by the promise of food. Unlike the dolphin, this creature was not playful. It was a hunter. It approached without warning, its dark shape hidden beneath the water. Lucas had no idea of the danger beneath him. As he stretched his arm to drop the fish, the shark struck. The massive predator lunged upward, its jaws snapping shut around Lucas's leg. In an instant, he was pulled over the railing and into the ocean. The peaceful scene turned into chaos. The water erupted as the shark thrashed, dragging the boy deeper. His screams filled the air, shocking his family into action. His parents, who had been inside, rushed to the deck. His sister screamed his name. The crew members on board scrambled to help. The once clear water now churned, waves splashing against the side of the yacht. Lucas struggled, but the shark's grip was too strong. Blood spread through the water as the predator bit down harder. His father reached for him, arms stretching desperately over the railing. His mother cried out for help. The crew threw life rings into the water, but the scene was moving too fast. The ocean had turned into a battlefield, and Lucas was caught in its grip. The horror of the moment was only beginning. Lucas's father leaned over the railing, his hands reaching toward the water as panic spread through the yacht. His mother stood frozen, her face pale with shock. The crew members acted quickly, throwing ropes and life rings into the ocean, but the force of the attack was too strong. The bull shark, with its powerful jaws, held onto the boy, dragging him deeper. The surface of the water churned, mixing foam with red as the struggle continued. The shark's grip tightened, pulling Lucas farther away from the yacht. His body jerked as the predator thrashed, its sharp teeth sinking deeper. His father managed to pull Lucas on board, but it was too late. Despite his efforts, Lucas had already succumbed to his injuries. The waves rocked the boat and the air was filled with frantic shouts, but nothing could change the outcome. The crew lowered a rescue boat in an attempt to reach him, but the water had already become still. The shark, satisfied with its kill, disappeared into the depths. The ocean swallowed the last traces of the attack, leaving only a few ripples where the struggle had taken place. Lucas had suffered fatal injuries, and there was nothing more that could be done. Silence fell over the yacht, broken only by the sound of waves against the hull. His mother collapsed onto the deck, unable to process the reality of what had just happened. His father stood motionless, his hands trembling. His sister, who had watched everything, cried uncontrollably. The crew, who had tried their best to save the boy, lowered their heads in grief. News of the tragic event spread quickly, shocking the local community. People could not believe that such a terrible attack had happened in waters often visited by families on vacation. Marine experts later confirmed that the presence of fish likely attracted the shark. They explained that bull sharks were aggressive hunters, often attacking when food was nearby. Authorities issued warnings to all travelers, reminding them to be careful when near the water. The attack served as a harsh reminder that nature was unpredictable, and the ocean was home to creatures that acted on instinct. Lucas's family ended their trip immediately, returning home with heavy hearts. The yacht, once a place of joy, now felt empty. The playful dolphin never returned, and the sea that had once seemed so full of wonder now carried painful memories. The loss of the young boy left a lasting impact. Many people who heard the story felt sorrow for his family. His parents spoke about the dangers of the ocean, hoping to prevent others from making the same mistake. The tragedy remained in the minds of those who had witnessed it, a reminder of how quickly life could change in an instant. On October 3, 2024, the sun shined brightly over the Great Barrier Reef, casting golden light on the vast blue waters. The sea was calm, with gentle waves rolling toward the shore. It was a perfect day for flyboarding, a thrilling water sport that allowed riders to soar above the ocean, powered by water jets. Among those who enjoyed this extreme sport was Andrew Lee, a 29-year-old professional flyboarder known for his daring stunts. Andrew had been passionate about water sports since childhood. He grew up near the coast, spending most of his time surfing, diving, and exploring the ocean. Over the years, he became an expert in flyboarding, impressing crowds with his ability to perform high jumps and flips in midair. He had traveled to many places for competitions and exhibitions, but the Great Barrier Reef was one of his favorite locations. The clear waters and open space made it ideal for showcasing his skills. That morning, Andrew and his crew set out on a boat, eager to record his latest tricks. His team, consisting of close friends and fellow water sports enthusiasts, watched as he geared up for his performance. The plan was to film him doing a series of flips and spins above the water, capturing footage for his social media and sponsors. With his flyboard secured, he launched into the air, lifting high above the ocean's surface. Andrew moved effortlessly, twisting and turning with precision. The powerful jets beneath his feet propelled him upward, allowing him to hover and dive. As he performed one of his signature stunts, he shot up high, then angled downward to create a dramatic descent. The crew cheered, excited to see him land smoothly. But just as he reached the water, something unexpected happened. A massive 14-foot tiger shark, hidden beneath the waves, surged upward with incredible speed. Without warning, it clamped its powerful jaws around Andrew's foot, dragging him below the surface. A sudden splash and a sharp cry for help echoed through the air as the water churned violently. His team rushed to the edge of the boat, their hearts pounding. They could see bubbles rising, but Andrew was nowhere to be found. Panic spread among them as they scanned the water, hoping to spot him. Moments later, he resurfaced, struggling to keep himself afloat. The shark's bite had left deep wounds, and blood stained the ocean around him. Despite the intense pain, he fought to stay above water, trying to control his flyboard. Realizing the danger, the crew quickly sprang into action. One of them threw a rescue rope while another jumped in to help. The team worked together, pulling him toward the boat as fast as they could. Every second felt like an eternity as they battled against the waves, determined to save their friend. The attack had happened so quickly that none of them had time to react before it was too late. The crew struggled to pull Andrew onto the boat as the ocean swirled with red. The shark had vanished beneath the waves, but fear gripped everyone. Once he was on board, they could see the extent of his wounds. His foot had been severely bitten, with deep gashes exposing muscle and bone. Blood poured from the injuries, soaking the deck. His breathing was rapid, and his face had lost all color. One of the crew members pressed a towel against the wound to slow the bleeding. Another grabbed the emergency kit, desperately searching for bandages. The team knew that time was against them. The nearest hospital was far away, and they had to act quickly. Someone reached for the radio and called for help, their voice shaking as they relayed the details of the attack. The boat's engine roared to life as they turned toward the nearest shore, pushing forward at full speed. Andrew lay motionless, his body weak from blood loss. His eyes fluttered open for brief moments before closing again. The crew continued to apply pressure, speaking words of encouragement, though he could barely hear them. The boat rocked against the waves, moving as fast as possible toward help. Minutes felt like hours as they raced against time. As they neared the shore, emergency responders stood waiting with medical supplies. Paramedics rushed aboard, quickly assessing his condition. They worked to stop the bleeding, their hands moving swiftly as they secured bandages around his leg. A stretcher was prepared, and Andrew was carefully lifted off the boat and carried toward an ambulance. The flashing lights reflected on the wet sand as the vehicle sped off toward the nearest medical facility. Despite their efforts, Andrew had already lost too much blood. His body could not recover from the trauma. Within moments of reaching the hospital, he succumbed to his injuries. The news sent shockwaves through the water sports community. Friends, fans, and fellow athletes struggled to believe that such a skilled professional had met such a tragic end. Social media was flooded with messages of grief and disbelief. People who had followed Andrew's career shared memories of his performances, celebrating his talent and passion for the sport. Tributes poured in from around the world, honoring the legacy he had built. Experts in marine life spoke about the growing number of shark sightings near popular water sports locations. Discussions about safety measures for flyboarders and other ocean athletes became urgent. In the weeks that followed, officials reviewed the incident to understand what had happened. Some suggested new safety protocols, including shark detection systems and emergency response training for extreme sports crews. Others debated the risks of performing stunts in areas where large predators roamed. The attack left a lasting impact on the community. The ocean, once a place of excitement and adventure, now carried a reminder of the unpredictable dangers that lurked beneath the surface. Though Andrew was gone, his influence on the sport would not be forgotten. On April 12, 2021, Lisa Turner was enjoying a long-awaited vacation with her friends along the beautiful yet wild coast of Gansbaai, South Africa. Known for its stunning views and clear waters, the area was famous for being a hotspot for great white sharks. Lisa, a 33-year-old marketing executive from London, had always loved the ocean. She had traveled to many beach destinations and enjoyed water activities, though she was not an experienced swimmer. This trip was special. Lisa and her group of friends had planned it for months, eager to experience South Africa's breathtaking coastline. They had rented a private boat to explore the open waters, hoping to see marine life up close. The sea breeze was cool, and the sun reflected off the waves as they moved further from the shore. Everyone on board was relaxed, taking pictures and enjoying the peaceful atmosphere. Lisa was particularly excited about capturing the moment. She held her phone tightly, trying to get the perfect shot of the deep blue sea stretching endlessly before them. The boat rocked gently, and without thinking, she leaned forward to take a better picture. The moment was brief. A sudden movement of the boat made her lose her balance, and in an instant she tumbled over the side, disappearing into the water. For a few seconds, no one noticed what had happened. The group was still chatting and laughing, unaware that Lisa had fallen. When one of her friends turned and saw the space where she had been standing, panic set in. Shouting her name, they rushed to the side of the boat, scanning the water for any sign of her. Lisa resurfaced, splashing frantically, trying to stay above the waves. Her friends saw her struggling and began searching for a way to help. They reached for a life ring, ready to throw it toward her. But before they could act, the water beneath Lisa shifted. A dark shadow rose from the depths, moving with terrifying speed. A massive 16-foot great white shark had been lurking below, drawn by the movement and sounds in the water. In an instant, the predator struck. The shark grabbed Lisa by the leg, its powerful jaws clamping down as it dragged her under. Her screams filled the air for only a moment before the ocean swallowed her whole. Her friends watched in shock, frozen with fear. They could see splashes and glimpses of her struggling form, but the force of the attack was too great. The water churned violently before falling still. One of her friends grabbed the radio, desperately calling for help. The boat's captain steered closer, but there was nothing they could do. As the seconds passed, hope faded. Lisa had vanished beneath the waves. The ocean was quiet again, the only sound being the wind and the distant cries of seagulls. The realization of what had just happened sank in, leaving everyone on board in stunned silence. The water remained still after the attack, with only small ripples disturbing the surface. Lisa's friends stood frozen, unable to believe what they had just witnessed. The bright sun reflected off the waves, making it hard to see beneath. But there was no sign of movement. They kept searching, hoping she would resurface, but there was nothing. One of them rushed to grab the emergency radio. The boat's captain immediately called for help, his voice shaking as he reported what had happened. He provided their exact location and described the sudden attack. A response came quickly, confirming that authorities were on their way. The group could do nothing but wait, staring at the ocean in disbelief. Minutes passed, feeling longer than they were. The Coast Guard arrived, along with a rescue team equipped with diving gear. They began scanning the water, but the outcome seemed certain. The sea was deep and the currents were strong. The shark had vanished just as quickly as it had appeared, leaving no clear trace of where it had gone. The rescuers searched the area carefully, but Lisa was gone. Her body was never recovered, lost to the ocean. News of the attack spread rapidly. Reports described how a young woman had fallen into the ocean during a boat trip and had been taken by one of the region's feared predators. Experts weighed in, explaining that great white sharks were known to be present in the waters of Gansbai, but rarely attacked humans. Some believed the sudden splash had attracted the shark's attention, triggering its instincts. Lisa's family received the heartbreaking news. They were devastated, struggling to accept that a simple mistake had led to such a tragic event. They worked with local authorities to gather all the details, but there were no further answers. Her friends, still in shock, replayed the moments over and over, questioning if anything could have been done differently. In the days that followed, discussions about the dangers of shark-infested waters increased. Many people had visited Gansbai for cage diving, hoping to see great whites up close. Now there was renewed concern about whether safety measures were strong enough. Some called for stricter regulations on boat tours, while others insisted that the ocean remained unpredictable, no matter the precautions. Marine experts urged people to remember that sharks were not mindless killers. They explained that attacks were rare and that sharks played an important role in maintaining balance in the ecosystem. Still, fear spread among tourists, with some canceling trips after hearing the news. A small memorial was held near the shore to honor Lisa. Friends and family gathered, throwing flowers into the water as a tribute. They spoke about her love for the ocean and her adventurous spirit. The loss was impossible to measure, but they found comfort in remembering the good times they had shared. The waves continued to crash against the shore, unchanged by the tragedy. The ocean, as always, remained vast and unpredictable. On October 5, 2019, Robert Matthews and his son Jason set out for a morning kayak trip off the coast of the Coromandel Peninsula in New Zealand. The sky was clear and the sea was calm. It was the perfect day for exploring the waters. Robert, 45, was an experienced kayaker who had spent years enjoying the ocean. Jason, 17, had learned from his father and shared the same passion for adventure. They had planned this trip for weeks, excited to spend quality time together before Jason's final year of high school began. The two paddled side by side, moving steadily through the water. The coastline stretched in the distance, its cliffs towering over small hidden coves. The ocean shimmered under the sun, creating a peaceful scene. They had brought fishing gear with them, hoping to catch something before returning to shore. The water was quiet except for the gentle splash of their paddles. As they reached a more secluded area, Robert pointed toward a small inlet. It was a spot they had visited before, known for its clear waters and rich marine life. Jason followed, paddling closer. Then, without warning, the water near them shifted. A sudden ripple spread across the surface. Jason looked around, confused. It happened so quickly that neither of them had time to react. A massive force struck their kayak from beneath, lifting it out of the water. The impact was powerful, flipping the kayak instantly. Both Robert and Jason were thrown into the sea. Jason surfaced quickly, gasping for air, and grabbed onto the overturned kayak. His father, however, was a few feet away, struggling to regain balance. Then a huge shape emerged from the depths. The water split apart as a 15-foot great white shark surged toward them. Its massive body cut through the waves, its dark eyes locked onto Robert. The shark moved fast, closing the distance in seconds. Before Jason could do anything, the predator reached his father. The shark grabbed Robert by the leg, dragging him underwater. Jason screamed, his heart pounding as he saw his father disappear below the surface. He clung tightly to the kayak, his mind racing. He knew he had to do something, but fear held him in place. The water churned violently, then became still again. Jason searched desperately, his eyes scanning the sea. Moments later, his father resurfaced, struggling to stay afloat. Jason paddled toward him, reaching out, but the shark was still there. It circled beneath them, its shadow dark against the blue. Robert tried to grab onto the kayak, but his strength was fading. Jason held onto his father's arm, pulling with all his might. The shark, however, was not finished. It surged forward again, thrashing beneath the water. By the time help arrived, Robert had succumbed to his injuries, leaving Jason with severe trauma. The ocean had taken his father. Jason was left alone in the water after the shark dragged his father below the surface. The calmness of the sea was gone. The once peaceful waters were now filled with the remnants of the violent attack. Jason floated on the overturned kayak, trying to stay calm, but panic surged through him. His father was gone. He was alone in the open ocean, surrounded by the distant coastline but too far from safety. Jason's heart raced, his body shaking from fear and shock. The realization that his father was lost to the shark set in like a heavyweight. He looked around, but the sea was still. There was no sign of the shark anymore. But Jason knew he couldn't let his guard down. He clung to the kayak, the waves gently rocking it as he tried to think clearly. He needed help, but he was miles from shore in a secluded area where few boats passed. In the distance, Jason spotted a boat. It was a small vessel, probably a local fisherman or tourist. He shouted as loud as he could, waving his arms in the air. The boat seemed far, but Jason held on to hope. His voice cracked and his throat burned as he cried out for assistance. He had to make them see him. The boat moved closer, and Jason's relief was almost overwhelming. The fishermen aboard heard his desperate calls and quickly turned toward him. As they reached Jason, they pulled him out of the water. His body was trembling, and he could barely speak. The reality of what had just happened was too much for him to process fully. They immediately radioed for emergency help, but Jason's thoughts were a blur. He could only think of his father, of how he had tried to save him. His mind raced with the images of the shark's attack. The boat sped back toward the shore, and the sound of the motor was a faint comfort. Jason was still in shock, unable to say much. His world had turned upside down, and his father was gone forever. When they reached the shore, emergency responders were already waiting. Jason was rushed to the hospital, physically unharmed except for the emotional trauma. He was exhausted, disoriented, and grieving the loss of his father. The authorities quickly started their investigation into the attack, warning residents and tourists about the increased shark activity in the area. The tragedy shook the local community. Many people who had heard of Robert and Jason's kayaking trip felt heartbroken for the young boy who had lost his father in such a violent way. The shark attack was rare but not unheard of in that region. The presence of great white sharks in the waters around the Coromandel Peninsula has been increasing in recent years, and this attack raised concerns about the safety of those venturing out into the ocean. For Jason, the loss was overwhelming. His father had been his hero, his guide through the world of adventure. Now he was left with the memories of a day that started as a bonding trip and ended in heartbreak. The trauma from the attack would stay with Jason forever, and the echoes of the shark's violent assault would never leave his mind. The coast of Coromandel would always remind him of the moment that changed his life forever. On August 23, 2024, 29-year-old Rachel Harris, a tourist from New York, found herself living an adventure in the beautiful coastal waters of Monterey Bay, California. Rachel had always loved exploring new places and enjoying outdoor activities. When she arrived in California, she was excited to try jet skiing for the first time. She was with a group of friends, all of whom shared her sense of adventure. They were looking forward to the fun, clear waters of the bay and the chance to enjoy the California coastline from the sea. Rachel had been on the jet ski for a while, racing across the waves and enjoying the wind in her hair. The thrill of speeding through the water was new to her, and she quickly gained confidence. As the group reached a quieter area, Rachel decided to take a sharp turn on the jet ski, trying to make a more exciting maneuver. But she miscalculated her move, and in a split second she lost control. The next thing she knew, she was thrown from the jet ski and plunged into the water. The calmness of the ocean around her quickly became a threat. At first, Rachel tried to keep her cool. She was a good swimmer, and she began moving toward her jet ski, hoping to climb back on. But something was wrong. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching her. Unseen below the surface, a large predator had sensed the disturbance in the water. The splash from Rachel's fall had attracted the attention of a 14-foot great white shark. Before Rachel could react, the shark surged upward with terrifying speed. The water around her seemed to darken as the massive shark broke the surface. With one quick motion, it grabbed her by the torso, sinking its sharp teeth into her body. The shock of the attack left Rachel unable to defend herself. She was pulled under the water so quickly that her friends, who had been watching her closely from their jet skis, could barely comprehend what had just happened. Rachel's friends immediately screamed and rushed toward her, desperately trying to help. They threw their hands in the air and tried to reach her as the shark dragged her beneath the waves. They couldn't get close enough, and they felt helpless as the shark's attack continued. Despite their best efforts, they couldn't save Rachel. The struggle happened so fast that there was little they could do. Within moments, the water went silent again, but Rachel had vanished, leaving her friends in complete shock. The attack occurred in a place that was known for its amazing marine life. Monterey Bay was a popular spot for tourists to experience the beauty of the ocean. But shark attacks in the area were rare, making this incident all the more shocking. Despite the calm and peaceful environment that usually surrounded the bay, this attack turned what was meant to be a fun day into a tragedy. Rachel's body was never recovered, and her friends were left devastated by the loss of a loved one so suddenly and violently. The shark attack shocked the entire Monterey Bay community. This peaceful region, known for its calm waters and abundance of marine life, had never experienced an attack like this before. Locals were used to seeing seals, dolphins, and even whales in the waters. Tourists often visit for the chance to enjoy the ocean and its beauty. But the appearance of the great white shark and its deadly assault on Rachel left everyone stunned. After the incident, a massive search effort was launched to find any trace of Rachel. Coast Guard teams, along with local volunteers, scoured the waters for hours, hoping for some sign of her. Despite their best efforts, there was no sign of Rachel, and the search was eventually called off. The ocean had taken her, and she was gone. Her family, back in New York, received the devastating news from her friends. They were heartbroken. Rachel had been so full of life, always seeking adventure and new experiences. Her family had encouraged her love for travel and outdoor activities, and they were proud of the person she had become. Her parents, in particular, were devastated by the sudden loss. They could not understand how something as simple as a day of jet skiing could turn so tragic. The community around Monterey Bay was also affected. Local businesses that depended on tourism felt the impact of the attack. People began to question how safe it was to be in the water. The attack, so close to shore and in such a popular area, left a dark shadow over what had once been a place of joy for many. The beaches and the bay, which were once bustling with families, became eerily quiet. Visitors who had planned trips to the area canceled their bookings, and people were hesitant to get into the water. In the days following the attack, the authorities in California increased their efforts to monitor shark activity along the coast. More shark spotters were stationed in the area, and the use of drones to monitor the waters became a common practice. Local officials issued warnings to the public about staying alert when near the water, and many people chose to stay out of the ocean for a while. Although the attack was a rare event, it left a lasting effect on the community. The memory of Rachel's tragic death hung heavy in the air. People talked about the shark attack for weeks, and it was on the news for days. It reminded everyone how unpredictable nature can be, and how something as simple as a recreational activity could quickly turn into a life-threatening situation. Rachel's friends, who had witnessed the attack, were deeply affected. They had tried everything they could to help, but the power of the shark was too much. They struggled with feelings of guilt and helplessness. They wondered if there was anything they could have done differently, but they knew that the attack was beyond their control. The tragedy also brought a heightened awareness of the risks that come with interacting with wildlife in their natural habitats. While sharks were not a regular danger for tourists in Monterey Bay, the attack reminded everyone of the importance of respecting the animals and understanding the risks that come with entering their domain.